Hey guys, so it's been just over a month of owning the Lexus, so I thought I'd do a bit of a video, a bit of a review video on it. I did do a fair bit of research before I bought the car, but I have learnt a few things since owning it, so I thought I'd cover some of that off in this video. And a bit later on I'm going go-karting with a few friends, so I might throw in some footage from that as well. We'll see how we go. All in all, in terms of the car itself, I really do like it. Yeah, there's not much I dislike about the car. It's very comfortable to drive. It's quick enough. It's not the fastest thing by any means, but it's alright for a daily. It's got enough torque and low down power to get you out of a bind. It does look really good. I absolutely love the look of it. The only thing sort of dislike about it is probably just the sound. It's meant to be a sports sedan. It is a sports sedan. But it doesn't have the sound of a sports sedan at all. You listen to some of the Mercedes, you know, they've just got a little bit of a note about them, whereas this just sounds, yeah, like a Camry, basically. So hopefully that's something I'll fix in the future. I don't want to go crazy. I don't want the thing to be like obnoxiously loud or anything, but just have a little bit of a note to it. That's it. Other than that, though, that's probably the only thing. Everything else is fantastic. The Lexus Inform app is pretty basic, but the cool thing I've learned about it is you can look up places on it, so you don't actually have to know the address. You can just throw in the name of a place, like Super Cheap as an example, and it'll find a list of them. So that's been pretty good because it doesn't have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. And that's probably the main thing I imagine I'd use it for, is just being able to find places without having to actually type the address in. The gearbox is great. It's pretty good in auto mode, but in manual mode it is fantastic. I've taken it up 2 mountain runs, 2 different mountains so far, and yeah, it's a lot of fun being in manual mode and shifting through the gears. I didn't think I'd be an auto person, and I'm probably still not an auto person, but it's actually really good. Yeah, really enjoying it. So, cover off a few of the things I've learned. One of the first things was I noticed I got this key. So, I mean, it obviously just looks like a card, and it is a full key. So, it's got a emergency key in it if in case the battery's flat, which the battery is actually flat on this, I think. I haven't got it to work just yet. That was on top of the 2 regular keys. So that was pretty cool that it comes with that. I do need to get the battery changed, and hopefully that fixes it, because that would be pretty cool to have instead of having to carry the key around. One thing I have learned that's pretty cool with the key though is if we jump out, I've learned with the key you can actually open up all the windows and the sunroof as well. So just push and hold the unlock button and it will open up all the windows, and it'll also open up the sunroof as well. It's pretty handy on those warm days. And then of course to close, just push and hold the lock button and it'll close it all up. That's not something I knew about until I sort of read through a few of the manuals. One of the other things which I've learned as well, which is pretty cool, is if you've got the key on you and you walk up to the car, there's a few lights that'll turn on. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a light under the mirror, and actually the interior lights as well turn on, I guess when it senses the key. Obviously this has the keyless entry, so if it is locked and you've got the key on you, just simply grab the handle and it'll unlock it. Most cars I think these days have that. A few of the other things I've learned, so I wasn't too sure if this had electronically adjusted suspension or not. I know it's got Sport Mode and Sports Plus, and what I've learnt through the manual is And for anyone out there that's not sure, because there's a bit of information online that says the IS didn't come with the electronically adjusted suspension. It does. There's two ways to know. One is if it's got a Sport Plus mode, it does. So basically Sports mode will adjust the throttle response, so it'll make it a little bit more sensitive, and it'll also hold the gears longer, so it just adjusts this transmission. And if you go into Sports Plus mode, which is just basically turning the dial once for Sports mode and a second time for Sports Plus, it'll stiffen the suspension and it'll also stiffen the steering wheel field as well. And I have used that for going up those mountain runs, and definitely do notice the difference. That's one way to know. The other way is, we'll just jump back out, let's pop the bonnet. And that's a really easy way to tell, is if you can get underneath the bonnet. There we go. You'll notice on the top of the suspension, the strut top, it does have some cables and this cover, and that there is basically for the motor that adjusts it, is my understanding of it. So yeah, another cool thing, I wasn't 100% sure if this car had or not. Really happy it does. It does mean I wouldn't be putting coilovers in this, just because I'd want to keep that. I might lower it, we'll see how we go. Some of the other cool things I've learned, so I'll just get it started. Well, one of the silly things I've learned is it will do a burnout if you wanted to. So just holding on to the brake and getting on the accelerator, if you hold it there, it will actually spin the back wheels. Just a bit of fun that I learned. The other cool thing is with the instrument cluster. So you'll notice the rev meter there is currently red. I think that's what it's called. The needle, you can actually go into the settings and you can change a few things here. So you can actually change it by driver, so you can have up to 3 drivers. There's a few things you can change around in this. There we go, the needle. So you can change the needle to be red, white, or blue. It was blue, I quite like the red, so I'll leave it on that. I thought that was pretty cool. And there was something else I found in here as well. Here we go, so the rev indicator. So that is basically, it tells you, and you can adjust it, and that tells you where to, I guess, change gears. So if I go to 2000, oh wait, actually I'll just turn it on. There we go. There we go. So it goes red, trying to indicate to you time to change gears. It's pretty cool that it lets you adjust it to where you want. So that's, but in essence, it's a shift light. The other thing as well, which was the rev peak. So basically, when you change gears, it'll hold a blue light, or sorry, a blue line, and that basically tells you where you rev to or where you change gears at, which I thought is pretty cool as well. One of the other things that I learned just messing around is if you're in manual mode, it will still change gears. It won't let the car rev out and hit the rev limiter. However, if you push and hold that for a little while, there we go, you get all sorts of lights and things, I guess, that are happening. There you go. It turns off a whole lot of things, but what it does is it turns off in manual mode, it turns off the automatic change. So you can hold it on the limiter if you really want to. Probably not the best thing to do, but yeah, it will actually let you do that if you push and hold the traction control off button, which I thought is pretty cool. If you're that way inclined and you want to I guess, be able to hold on to the rev limiter for a little while. The reverse camera, so I had it in whatever mode this was, and I don't actually know, I need to look into what this all means, but there's a box, and you can see that box moves. That box moves as I move the steering wheel. I think it's trying to indicate where the car is going to go, but as soon as you turn the steering wheel too far, there you go, it well, usually it's the box disappears altogether, and then there's absolutely nothing. But I've noticed that, yeah, there is actually some different modes, so you can change it. There we go. So we've got this these lines, and that moves as you turn the steering wheel, which I quite like. You can change it so it's just that, or you can change it again if you just want the red line and there's no directions. I quite like that. Gives you a good idea on where the car is going when you're reversing. Probably worth doing a bit of a walk around. There's a few things I wasn't sure of. One of the things was the brakes on the front. I'd seen, and sorry, the car's very dirty at the moment, but I'd seen a few of the hybrids around, and the brakes look pretty small on it, but the just the normal IS200 turbo, it's a bit hard to see because it's quite dark, but reasonable sized calipers on it. Have a water to air intercooler. I believe that's the coolant for the water to air intercooler. They run 8 injectors, so they run 4 direct injectors, and they also run 4 port injection. So fairly complex, but I guess that's just how they operate it. For anyone curious, the turbo's pretty small, it's hidden down there. It makes reasonable boost from about 1500 RPM. It does peak at 17 PSI. I haven't really been able to see if it tapers off and how much it does. I'm sure it does, but I haven't really been able to see that. But yeah, it's pretty good. The passenger side does have electric seats as well, which is handy, and obviously it's got vented and heated seats front and rear. Oh sorry, not front and rear, just front. The rear is not anything fancy by any means. It's quite nice back here though. It seems like the previous owner must have not really used the back much, because it's pretty well in perfect condition. The Mark & Levinson sound is actually really good. I'm very impressed with it. I won't be doing anything sound wise because it just works. It works well. It sounds really good. There's a good enough bass. There's the odd mark here and there in the interior and on the paint, but nothing too major. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it, considering I bought it sight unseen. And yeah, that's the 2017 onwards rear diffuser or bumper style, which has got that sort of shaped exhaust. If I do change the exhaust, I'm not sure if I'll keep that or if I'll go to quad tips or something like that. It is unfortunately very dirty at the moment. So that's all I wanted to cover on the Lexus. Just those few things I've learned since owning it. I'm really loving it. It's a great car, great daily. In other news though, the 34 is coming along. So the engine is still out of it. It's currently getting the machine work done. Most of it is actually done. It's just the crank that's currently getting machined at the moment. I'm very excited to get this up and running again. I better get a move on. Like I said, go-karting's happening, so got to get to the track, and I'll try and throw in some footage if I can.
Oh man, that was good. That was good.
It was fun?
Yeah.
Let's go see the time.
Funny. It's already happening again.
Cody and his little girl.
No man, I'm driving hard.
Oh yeah. Did it beat?
That's me again.
Is it?
That's 2 for 2.
2 for 2. What do we get? Oh, 4075, you beat my all time. Look how happy he is. Look how happy he is.